Hey, hello, this is Victor. Now, the host in this next video makes some very good points about the idiot apprentice, that is Trump. Also, you see and hear Trump simply babble and attack other people personally, instead of talking about relevant current events. Logically, this is not the kind of person that should be in the White House. And on top of that, he is already a convicted felon. FYI, if a military member is convicted of a felony, they are subject to prison, fines, and loss of benefits, as well as discharge from the military. And yet this country is allowing a convicted felon to run for commander-in-chief of the armed services. That makes zero sense and should be against the law. Please watch this next video.
Now, before we go into this clip, I want you to remember one thing. Donald Trump is holding a rally in Pennsylvania. Watch this.
Speak a little bit longer. You know, how would you like it? A guy's waiting with his family for 3.5, 4 days. They have a tent, and the tent is set up. They have hundreds of them, and they wait. And then I walk in, speak for 15 minutes, and leave. I don't know, somehow. Would that be okay, North Carolina? I don't think so, right? They want me to speak all day.
Remember how Republicans spent months and months and months warning about the dangers of electing a president in the throes of cognitive decline? Looks like the call was coming from inside the House. That was Donald Trump in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, addressing a crowd as if he's in North Carolina. Now, let's play the most classic game in politics. What if a Democrat did that? What if Joe Biden, for example, forgot not just the city, but the state that he was currently in? Do you think that perhaps Fox News might run wall-to-wall coverage about how Biden was descending into the depths of dementia? Do you think that the New York Times and the Washington Post would have taken their cues from the right and begun publishing stories about how Biden's age and mental state are a major vulnerability in this race? Do you think Trump himself would have been calling him a danger to the country? Because I'm pretty sure all of those things would have happened, and in fact, all of those things did happen. And so naturally, it would only be fair that if that's what the reaction to Joe Biden would have been, that we hold Donald Trump to the same exact standard. And what's worse, Trump's rapidly declining mental state isn't limited to just today. Remember, this is the same guy who, in this cycle alone, has claimed that Nikki Haley was in charge of the Capitol on January 6th, that World War II hasn't happened yet, that Barack Obama is still the president, that Jeb Bush got us involved in the war in the Middle East, that Hannibal Lecter, a make-believe cannibal, was a great American, that Kamala Harris looks the same as his wife on the cover of Time. I mean, I could go on all day, but out of respect for his serious health condition, I'll just leave it at that. And look, I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but mostly not. Donald Trump is clearly not functioning at anything close to a high enough level to preserve our national security. Think about it this way. When it comes to judgment, for the person responsible for the biggest nuclear weapon arsenal in the world, do you really think it's a good idea to entrust it to a guy who goes on stage at the National Association of Black Journalists and says that Kamala Harris turned black one day? Do you think that shows strong judgment and sound mind to then go into the Situation Room in the event of an emergency? The guy who would hold a press conference at Mar-a-Lago to suggest that his January 6th insurrection crowd was bigger and better than Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech crowd? Good enough judgment to have the final say on whether or not we launch a military strike? Do you think that guy has good enough judgment to outsmart someone like Putin or Xi or Kim Jong-un, all of whom want nothing more than to have a useful idiot in office who would, undermine NATO, for example? Of course, Donald Trump would never do that.
During a meeting, one of the presidents of one of the European countries stood up, and it was a closed-door meeting. He said, may I ask you a question, Mr. President? Yes. If we don't pay, we're not paid up, and we're attacked by Russia, will you defend us? I said, you mean you're delinquent? You haven't paid? That's right. No, I will not defend you.
Well, I guess he would do that. And look, Donald Trump was right when he claimed over and over that a president in the throes of cognitive decline would put the United States in danger. What he didn't realize while saying it is that he was inadvertently warning us about himself. Of course, this same rally featured more insanity by Trump, like, for example, how he continued to pine over running against a guy who is decidedly not running against him.
What happened to Biden?
Plus, he's a convicted felon, and he should not be allowed to be running for president in the first place.
Running against Biden, all of a sudden I'm running against somebody else. It's true. You know, it's interesting. I said, who am I running against? Harris. I said, who the hell is Harris? You don't know. Who the hell is Harris? Joe Biden hates her, okay? Hates her. You don't mind if I go off teleprompter for...
The lawmakers in this country need to grow a pair and stand up to this fool, to this freaking idiot, and not allow him to run for president. That should be a requirement. There should be a disclaimer. There should be a requirement saying you cannot be a convicted criminal and run for president of the country.
I can do that. Joe Biden hates her. This was an overthrow of a president. This was an overthrow. They went out, I spent $100 million fighting Joe Biden. They told him he couldn't win. His debate performance wasn't the best ever. But they said mine was the best ever. But they said his debate performance wasn't. I look forward to debating her, by the way. She'll be easier. She'll be easier than him.
Isn't it interesting that he's so desperate to run against the guy who he himself warned wasn't up for the job because of his mental state? And yet now, with Biden out of the race, the very thing that Donald Trump accused him of being is now manifesting in Donald Trump himself. Meaning that Biden leaving was doubly as bad for Trump. It took away a weak opponent, and it trained the nation's attention on the other guy who is now too old to be president, and that's Trump himself. While Joe was in there, Donald Trump could skate by. But without Joe, it's become blatantly obvious that Donald Trump shouldn't be anywhere near the levers of power again. Trump then went on to say this.
Only get worse. They're only going to get worse. The stock market, and you have some of the most brilliant...
And what the hell are you going to do about it? What's your plan, idiot? What's your freaking plan? You have no plan. All you can do is moan and groan.
To many people, including one of the greatest...
All you can do is moan, groan, bitch, and complain. That is it. Just talk about other people and bitch about other people and other things. You have no plan. You have no strategy. You don't know shit.
Wall Street prognosticators, Scott Bessent, has anyone heard of him? One of the most brilliant guys on Wall Street. If I don't win, you will have a 1929 style depression. Enjoy it. I believe that. I believe that. I believe it.
Ah, yes, the economy will crash and will be plunged into another depression similar to the likes of 1929, which coincidentally is exactly what he said ahead of the 2020 election just before Biden became president. And yet, here we are in the strongest economy in the entire world with the strongest stock market in U.S. history. So maybe that attack might have been potent in 2020 when people didn't know better, but at this point, he is just gaslighting us. And that's a point that I made, by the way, on air with Jonathan Capehart on MSNBC just today.
I want to read you back to you. You write, Republicans may claim to hate the Democrats, but frankly, there is no one they have more contempt for than their own supporters. Talk more about that.
We hear over and over and over again the lies that Donald Trump will tell to his own supporters, the gaslighting that he sells to his own supporters. For example, we've heard it with a ton of economic examples where he's still claiming that if we elect Democrats into the White House, that the stock market will crash and that we'll have a 1929 style crash. Well, that's exactly what he said after he was running against Joe Biden in 2020. And what are we looking at right now? We're looking at the strongest economy in the entire world. We're looking at a record high stock market. And so the fact that he would see that and come back and say the exact same thing again 4 years later, while we are living in the strongest economy, while we're living with the highest stock market, goes to show that, in fact, he has very little respect for his own audience, that he feels okay to just lie to their faces like that. And so for all of the contempt that he claims to have for Democrats, in fact, he's showing the most disdain for his own supporters that he would treat them that way. Trump then decides to put his desperation on full display by outright attacking Kamala Harris.
This woman is nuts. Look, people say, be nice. Have you heard her laugh? That is the laugh!
No, you are a freaking nut. You're a freaking idiot. All you can do is babble and talk about people. You don't have any vision. You don't have any plan. You don't have any foresight. Not looking towards the future. Just want to babble and talk about people. It's like an ongoing soap opera. That's it. Just listen to you babble and babble and babble.
crazy person. That is the laugh of a crazy. It's the laugh of a lunatic. Have you heard it? You know, they prohibited her. They prohibited her for laughing. I've been waiting for her to laugh because as soon as she laughs, the election's over. But we're winning by a lot in Pennsylvania. I think the fracking got her. The fracking got her. But she has been prohibited from laughing. You know, she used to do an interview. She, who the hell laughs at an interview like that?
Let me ask you a question.
See, who the hell gives a shit? You freaking idiot? You should be talking about security issues, economic issues, and things that are relevant to people, not babbling about somebody's laugh, you fucking idiot.
Anything better on Kamala Harris than attacking her laugh? Don't you think he would use it if she had some scandal or crime or vulnerability? And yet the fact that he is relegated to attacking her laugh really does go to show the extent to which he's got nothing on her. He doesn't know how to run against her, which is further underscored by the fact that she knows exactly how to run against him. She is uniquely positioned to take on this guy, and she's not shy about pointing that out.
Before I was elected vice president, before I was elected United States Senator, I was elected Attorney General of the state of California, and I was a courtroom prosecutor before then. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
Now I'm going to pause this video just for a moment to make a point. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump both have experience in the legal system. Donald Trump as a repeating defendant, Kamala Harris as a lawyer, an attorney and a lawyer.
Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain.
Oh, like Trump. Trump broke the rules for his own
when
gain.
I say,
cheating bastard.
I know Donald Trump's type.
So he will continue to hold his rallies and continue to dissemble in real time, not just at the hands of Kamala Harris's ascendant campaign, but also at the hands of his own failing mental state. At this point, Trump's appearances are little more than billboards reminding the American people of just how fundamentally unfit for office he actually is. I've got a really exciting announcement. I've written a book. It's called Shameless. This book explores how Republicans have exploited their historical branding while attacking our democracy, how the media has proven itself a willful participant, and how Democrats can learn from this to rebalance the political scales and save our democracy. It has been a lifelong dream of mine to write my own book, and so I'd like to ask you to pre-order it by clicking the link right here on the screen. And if you buy within this pre-order period, your book is going to come with a signed nameplate. As you know, I've never had a single sponsor on my channel.
Thank you for watching this video, and the main point of me making this little project was to show a video that actually talks about how Donald Trump just babbles and babbles and babbles and makes no sense and lies and cheats and steals. And on top of that, I want to make one important point. It's not just about Donald Trump only specifically, but anybody who is a convicted felon should not be allowed to run as commander-in-chief of the United States government, no matter what political party you belong to. That is, I think, should be a basic requirement. You have a criminal-free record. Thank you for watching.